Yeah, a couple of months ago, back in what it must have been October, I was talking to a very good friend of mine, the very good friend that was the guest on the show last week. And we just harvested a whole load of apples and other things from her community garden. And I was just saying that I didn't know what to do with half the stuff we've collected. I wouldn't have known what to do with it in the kitchen. And I think there were a lot of people in a similar situation. So we've got my wonderful co-host, Annie Day, who's going to be telling us all about what to do with the harvest.
Indeed.
I'm Jack Cox, author of Love Not Fear.
There you go. This is Jack's lovely book, Love Not Fear. I thoroughly recommend it.
And I'm with my gorgeous co-host, Annie Day, who's written two scrumptious books.
Orgasmic Health and Your Guide to Feeling Fabulous Fast.
And Barnabas, who's written...
Are you ready?
All you need is love. La da 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 da. All you need is love. Love. Love is all you need.
And Andrew's book.
And my book. Well, my book is poetry about love and essays too, short essays, all about love in its many different forms. So available at Amazon and at the link below.
Yay!
Wonderful. So I'm going to put a link to all the books in the show notes. So, Annie, take it away.
Okay. So thank you for this great opportunity, Jack. So have you ever wondered how to preserve the fresh produce of summer?
Always.
Yes, indeed.
I haven't got a clue. I'm waiting for you to explain.
That's why I said it.
What a complete klutz in the kitchen can do.
No, that's not what I'm saying at all. No, you're not a klutz at all. So the fresh produce of summer to enjoy all through the year. Do you worry about wasting the food you have grown and feel overwhelmed by those gluts of tomatoes, courgettes, beans? I want to recover and pass on to you the traditional skills of preserving, how to pickle, bottle and can your fruit and vegetables safely and creatively. Once you know how to use a water bath for a safe seal and are confident you know what you are doing, there will be no stopping you. A large pantry or a kitchen cupboard will bring huge satisfaction, and I guarantee you will soon become addicted to preserving and begin to see every crop as something that can be fermented or popped into a jar. Think of that, Jack. That sound good?
Yeah, let's pop it into a jar. That sounds absolutely wonderful.
Sounds good, doesn't it?
It sounds good. Oh, I like saying that. Pop.
Pop into a jar. So it's important to wash hands and forearms frequently before handling food and after touching raw meat, fish and poultry. Use disposable gloves if you have a cut or sore on your hands. Never taste food that looks or smells strange to see if it can still be used. Just discard it. So some of us preppy people don't do that. We have a good sniff of it and a little taste and then go, no, that's horrible. So yeah, just skip over that last little bit. Just if it doesn't look right, doesn't smell right, just get rid of it and just let it go.
Compost.
Pardon?
It's all good on the compost.
It could well be good on the compost, Jack, couldn't it? For sure. Yeah, absolutely, darling. So general cleaning tips. Wash sponges and pot scrubbers frequently. Mop up spilled juices from meat, fish or poultry immediately using a disposable paper towel. Use a disinfecting solution. I use colloidal silver spray and my recommendation is Higher Nature. So let me show This is Higher Nature's colloidal silver. It's in a lovely little spray bottle. So you can literally spray it on surfaces. It's antibiotic, antiviral, antibiotic. So it's a good guide to have in your toolkit. So, and it keeps everything nice and clean.
If you want to know more about colloidal silver, we did a show a couple of weeks ago, didn't
Yeah, we did. Yeah, Jack, for sure.
About
Yeah,
semi-precious metals and the healing properties thereof.
Yeah, absolutely, darling. Rinse all fresh fruits and vegetables well. If they are not organic, wash them with a solution of apple cider vinegar before preparing or eating them. So this is the one I recommend. It's organic apple cider vinegar. So you'd make a solution up. Let's say you've got apples and you'd leave them to soak basically. If they're not organic, you know, if you think that they've been sprayed, it might be that some of this produce isn't stuff that you've grown organically. It might be from another source. So yeah, I thoroughly recommend organic cider vinegar from apples basically. So that will get rid of all the glycophosphates and the wax that's attached to your fruit potentially.
And I suppose it gets rid of a peel.
Oh yeah, it gets rid of everything, darling.
Does it? Yeah.
Yeah,
Good.
it does get rid of everything. Yeah, literally. Use the right equipment. Use standard canning jars, lids, and rings. Our Stand in the Park Stafford group did a canning course with Rosie's Preserving School and Pressure Canning Workshop, which was fascinating. So you could cook the product in a deep, non-reactive kettle, stainless steel, enamelled or glass. Use a reputable recipe for the best results because they will have been tested for quality, flavour and safety. And then this is something that I think is so massively important. Talk to your grandma, your mum, your aunties, your sisters, and ask them for their favourite recipes. And again, you'll be getting that shot of nostalgia with their ideas as well, knowing that it's a, you know, it's a tradition that's been handed on. And most ladies have got their secret little recipes for what they like to do with leftovers, basically.
Oh, my gran knew all about all that sort of stuff. Unfortunately, she died with it still inside her.
Oh, that's a shame, Jack, isn't it?
They say when an elder dies, a library is lost.
Yeah. Yeah. Fortunately, my grandma was not only very vocal, but also she wrote copious notes in beautiful copper plate as well that I really love. No scribbly writing, proper copper plate. So we'd know what to do. And some of her recipes are, what shall I say, aren't everybody's cup of tea, like using clay to roast a hedgehog and stuff like that. And I remember
I've done that. I've done that.
There you go. See, so
many years ago, I've done that in the field. Yeah.
It was years later that I knew that what I'd been eating was hedgehog. I thought it was some, I don't know what I thought it was really. But we used to eat pig's ears, pig's trotters, pigtails. You know, I'm Lancashirean, partly Lancashirean. So that was the norm to eat, and also to eat tripe. Do you remember tripe, Jack?
No, we used to eat an awful lot of that in Spain. It's still very popular in
Yeah,
Spain.
yeah, absolutely. I've had it in Spain, but they didn't cook it as we traditionally would with milk and mushrooms. They just did it raw and cut it into little chunks and put black pepper and sea salt and tomatoes with it. And it was absolutely scrumptious. And it was only years later that I actually realised that it's actually where tripe comes from.
Absolutely, yeah. They do a very, very spicy one, which is really delicious.
You see, what do they put in that one, Jack?
I've no idea, but it's absolutely gorgeous.
Okay. So yes, talk to your female friends and to your mum, your sisters, your soul sisters, and ask them what recipes they remember. So read the thoroughly before you begin. Just to make sure as well that you've got all your ingredients and all your equipment to hand, so you haven't got to, you know, with your floury hands go off and do something else. Measure out all your ingredients, have all your needed utensils at hand. Check the glass jars for flaws, wash all jars, lids and rings in hot soapy water and rinse well. Place clean jars into the canner to heat. Fill hot jars using either a raw, cold pack or a hot pack. The raw or cold pack method means packing the cold or raw food into a hot jar and then adding boiling liquid brine. So the salt that I recommend using for any brine solutions is Himalayan pink salt. It's got so many nutrients in it. It's absolutely fabulous, which is why the dark cabal have demonized it and told us we shouldn't be having salt. It's not good to be having a lot of table salt, but Himalayan pink salt is fabulous. And then the other one that I recommend is Cornish sea salt. So it's a lot coarser than, yeah, Cornish sea salt.
Okay, yeah.
But this again is really, really good if you're going to do any salting, and it comes in bigger crystals than the Himalayan salt usually. The jars are then processed in a boiling water canner. Fruits such as apricots, berries, cherries, grapes, plums, rhubarb and tomatoes are best if packed raw. Most vegetables can be packed raw or so-called cold packed if processed in the pressure canner. The hot pack method requires a short pre-cooking period, boiling or heating in some manner. Then the boiling hot product is packed into clean hot jars and processed immediately. The hot pack method is more satisfactory for some vegetables and fruits, and it is recommended for peaches, pears and pineapple. Benefits include a tighter pack, and because food expels air when heated, less float. Use the method suggested in your tested recipe for the best flavours and textures. And this isn't really quite the same as doing the canning, but one of the lovely treats that my grandma made was she'd pick all the green gages and the plums, and then she'd put them in honey in jars. And she also discovered that she was getting pears and plums and then just putting water and sugar in to preserve them, and then put them in the cellar, and 10 years later got them out and it had all turned to alcohol.
Oh, wonderful.
What do you do if you mix water with lots of sugar and fruit?
Fantastic.
That wasn't her intention, but yes, we all got very frolicky on grandma's plums that had been in sugar water. So there's loads of little lovely things like that that we can learn about, which again was a really good way of preserving them. And the honeyed plums and green gages were just so scrummy. They were just really, really, really tasty. And that's something we don't see often now, isn't it, Jack? Green gages?
I haven't seen one for ages.
No, nor me. My grandma had 2 great big green gage trees and would make jams and all sorts of chutneys and lovely, lovely things. So I don't know quite what's happened to them, really. What's happened to green gage trees? So, but we have got, at least, we've got plum trees, as we know. There's one in my lovely garden. So, but as the birds and the squirrels ate them, I didn't really get a chance to do anything with the other plums, to be honest.
You've got to learn to share, Annie.
They weren't sharing. They had 30 and I had absolutely none. So next year I'm going to have a little word with those squirrels and say we have to do half and half. A pickle. So pickling things. So last month would have been a really good time to be doing shallots and to be pickling them. And yeah, for people who like shallots and like pickled onions, you know, that's the time to be doing it. You can do it now. It's just more difficult to get hold of the shallots than it was, I suppose it was early October when they were at, you know, they were being sold basically, if you hadn't grown your own. So brine. A pickle is any fruit or vegetable preserved in vinegar or brine. Brine pickles are products fermented in salt brine. Regular dill pickles and sauerkraut are fermented and usually cured for about 3 weeks, just for that fermentation process to really kick in, basically. They can be canned or stored in jars for 4 to 6 months. And actually, I think they last for a lot longer than 4 to 6 months, but that's erring on, what should we say, the side of caution, really. Fruit pickles are fruits that are pickled in spicy, sweet and sour syrups. Relishes are prepared using chopped products and cooked in a spicy vinegar solution. So one of the vinegar solutions could be organic apple cider vinegar. If you didn't want it to discolour your fruit, then you could use distilled vinegar. So it's very clear. So whatever kind of fruit or pickles that you're doing, it won't change the colour of them at all. Let's put you back down there. Be sure to remove and discard about 1/16 inch slice from the blossom end of fresh cucumbers. Now, this is really important because the blossoms contain an enzyme which causes excessive softening of pickles. So if you make sure that you've taken off, you know, only a tiny bit of the slice from the blossom end of the fresh cucumbers, then they won't go all soggy, basically, because you don't really want a soggy cucumber, do you?
No.
I'm not going to make any more comments.
Nor me.
So salts, as I've already explained, I use pink Himalayan salt or Cornish sea salt, or as they are the highest in nutrients. Vinegar, the level of acidity in a pickled product is as important to its safety as its taste and texture. When pickling, always use high quality vinegars with at least 5% acidity. So it'll say on the label somewhere what the acidity levels are.
Mm.
So on this one, it's on with all the other ingredients and things. Where do we get to? When pickling, always use high quality vinegars with at least 5% acidity. Doing so may alter its preservative effect and undermine the safety of your product if it's less acidic than that. Use only recipes with tested proportions of ingredients. White distilled and cider vinegars are recommended. White vinegar is usually preferred with a light colour, as that's desirable for some fruits. Water. Soft water makes the best brine for pickles. Hard water, which we have an abundance of in Stafford, don't we, Jack?
I don't know, do we?
Iron, your washing machine, your kettle. I have to use vinegar to clean my kettle at least once a week, otherwise it gets really, really furred up. My Kangen water machine, I have to run a program with citric acid in to get rid of the buildup of lime scale, because it's awful, Jack, isn't it, in Stafford? It really is. It's a very hard water, which is said to be better for us, that the lime scale is good for us, but yeah, it does mess up electrical gadgets quite significantly.
It's lovely water in Glastonbury, Annie.
Don't rub it in. Don't rub it in. And the lovely Barnabas and I are going to Buxton, aren't we, to get some water as well? As I'm down to my last bottle of Chalicewell Garden water.
This is Chalicewell Garden water, so cheers.
Oh,
Cheers.
go on, another one. Just rub it in that you've still got some left.
Yeah, we need to go and get more spring water, don't we?
Yeah, we're going on the 14th, aren't we, Andrew, to sunny
All being well,
Buxton.
10 days. 10
Yeah,
days
not
from
long
now.
now. It's a very exciting day because that's the day that or at least the evening, my son, grandson, and my daughter-in-law are flying into the UK for Christmas. I'm so excited.
Oh, wonderful. Yeah.
So I don't know
Enjoy.
who's the most excited, my 7-year-old grandson or me, because we talked to each other yesterday and he's going, Annie, it's only 12 days. I was like, I know it's only 12 days.
Oh, it'd be lovely having your family around.
Oh, Jack, I'm so looking forward to it. We're going to have a ball. We're going to have a ball. So I would recommend that you use mineral water or Chalicewell Garden water or Buxton water, but really good quality water for anything you're going to use. Because think about it, you're going to consume that, aren't you? Hard water may cause cloudiness in the brine and discolour your pickles. But if only hard water is available, boil it and let it settle for 12 hours. Skim off the scum and use water from the top of the container without disturbing the sediment. Or as I say, use, good quality water from a spring, or also use mineral water because that's going inside your beautiful body. So pickles with reduced salt content. When making fresh pickles, cucumbers are acidified quickly with vinegar. Use only tested if I could talk, it would be great, wouldn't it? I'll try that again, Jack. I'll try it again. So, pickles with reduced salt content. When making fresh pickles, cucumbers are acidified quickly with vinegar. Use only tested recipes formulated to produce the proper acidity. I did it. Yay.
Well done. We knew you could do it, Annie.
While these pickles may be prepared safely with reduced or no salt, their quality may be noticeably lower. Both texture and flavour may be slightly but noticeably different than expected. Brown sugar, one of my grandma's favourite, along with honey. So brown sugars granulated are most often used to preserve and local honey. And the beauty of using local honey is, we talked about this as well, Jack, didn't we, when we were talking about different qualities of metals. But if you're having local honey, then the bees will have used, they will have collected pollen from the whole of that area. So for me, local honey is really good, particularly when rapeseed is at its worst. Because the bees will have had some rapeseed pollen in there. And the one I've got currently is very dark. Usually it's kind of a light golden colour, but this is very dark. And I think it's that the bees have been having pollen from different areas. So if you can, get local honey, because it will stimulate your immunity system and help you to overcome any allergies to particularly rapeseed or hay or tree pollen, basically.
Yeah, I always do that if I've got hay fever.
Yeah,
I always get some local honey down me.
yeah, it's great stuff, isn't it, Jack? You can't overdose on it, it just keeps, and also that sweetness is quite addictive as well, I think.
Oh yes, oh yes.
I've got some in my lovely ginger and lemon tea tonight, and root ginger and a slice of lemon and some local honey. So yeah, avoid corn syrup. Oh, corn syrup is so dreadful for us. It really is not good for us at all. Spices. Use fresh whole spices for the best quality and flavour in your pickles and chutneys. Powdered spices may cause the product to darken and become cloudy. So get yourself some root ginger and slice it up or grate it into it as well. The same with cinnamon. Grate up the whole cinnamon, and with nutmeg the same. Grate it up, and then you've got fresh, beautiful, vibrant spices basically. Pickles will darken less if you tie the whole spices loosely in a clean white cloth or cheesecloth bag, and then remove the bag from the product before packing the jars. So again, those little tiny silky bags are ideal for putting things like black pepper in as well. You can make a whole little sachet and then put that in, and it means it isn't, what shall I say, it isn't going to be as impactful as leaving it in basically. And as lovely as black pepper is, if you get one stuck in your tub, it's a bit of a bugger.
I'll happen.
Oh, we've done it, haven't we? We've done it. Had a little chomp on that black pepper, and it's a little bit too strong. And Andrew's laughing, so I think Barnabas must have had that happen as well, I think.
Oh yes, many times. I'm a black pepperaholic. I have a grinder, you know, and then it doesn't always grind, does it?
No.
So you get bigger bits.
Yes.
And then you go, oh, what's that in my teeth? And then you chomp on it. Go,
you see, we can introduce laughter medicine into the most mundane things, can't we? So when pickling cucumbers, I've already said this, but I'm reminding people, cut a slice off the blossom end and discard it so that the enzymes in the blossom end doesn't soften the pickles. You don't want soggy pickles, basically, or soggy cucumbers.
You sure going on about soggy cucumber.
I've
The
no
Martian
idea why
one
this
is-
image keeps coming to my head, Jack. I can't imagine.
Your mind.
I know. It's incredible, isn't it? I've got such a great imagination. Inappropriate imagination sometimes.
It's
So-
good fun, though. Good fun.
It is absolutely good fun, and it's keeping us laughing as well, isn't it? So it's all goody goody.
We can take life too seriously,
Oh, absolutely. So,
but not on this show.
But not on this show. You're right. Not on our watch.
Not for long, anyway.
No. So soaking cucumbers in ice water for 4 to 5 hours prior to pickling is a safe method for making crispy pickles and cucumbers. I am going to stop in a minute, honestly.
You're doing a Jack, basically, aren't you now?
I am.
It's not only me that falls about you laughing when I'm reading my notes.
This week it's me. I think you've transferred your naughty laughter to me instead, Jacobs. So, other considerations. Yellow crystals on pickled asparagus. I didn't actually grow asparagus this year, but pickled asparagus is quite scrummy. So it is, isn't it? It's really tasty.
You can't beat it fresh out of the garden.
No, it's just lovely, isn't it? It's just lovely.
It's a lot of work, but it's worth it.
It is. I think because I didn't have a very good crop last year, I decided I wouldn't this year. But then I also did valiantly grow sweet potatoes from organic seeds last year. You've got to admire my, what shall I say, my enterprising nature. So I planted these seeds in the February, grew them on my bedroom windowsill, and then the advice was to plant them outside in a sunny place in June and then pick them in November. And Jack, I got about half a dozen that were as big as my little finger.
But you tried.
But I tried. But then I found this forum that was saying that you cannot grow sweet potatoes in the UK because the temperatures don't get high enough, and it belongs to. So the reason I can tolerate it is it doesn't belong to the nightshade family.
No, it's a yam.
It's a yam, isn't it? Yeah. And yams need a lot hotter weather than we get here. So I decided I wouldn't do that twice as well. But I learnt.
Annie, there are no mistakes in gardening, only experiments.
There are. And I did eat them, and they were very tasty, just tiny. So sometimes pickled asparagus will form yellow crystals, and that is fine. When asparagus is heated with acid, such as vinegar, rooting is drawn out of the asparagus plant. It then becomes insoluble in vinegar and crystallizes on the exterior of the asparagus stems. It is safe to eat. It is only a cosmetic concern. So if you're at the Hilton, you're probably not going to get crystallized asparagus. But if you've grown your own, it doesn't really matter, does it? And once you've slathered it with butter, who's going to know?
Absolutely.
So whip up a quick batch of jam. If you've got a glut of soft fruit that's gone past its best, you just need 300 grams of caster sugar and 300 grams of strawberries, blackberries or raspberries. Perfect for toast or for sandwiching and a Victorian sponge. So ingredients: 300 grams of overripe soft fruits such as strawberries, raspberries, blackberries. My favourites are blackberries because the universe very kindly has put loads of blackberry plants all over my garden, and I scrump apples from the other side of the fence. So I make lovely
as one does.
As you do. It's
as one does,
yeah. Go rotten, aren't they? If they just land on the other side. So yeah, they're
you're
great.
You're rescuing them.
Oh yeah, thank you, Jack. I like that reframe. I'm just rescuing the apples. I'm not scrumping at all. So yeah, blackberry and apple crumbles, blackberry and apple jam is lovely because apple has pectin naturally in it, so you don't need to add any pectin as well. Method: step 1, prep your fruit, rinse and dry your fruit. Step 2, combine your fruit and your sugar. Place your fruit in a saucepan or pot large enough to leave several inches of space at the top. Start to simmer, or even simmer. I am going to stop this in a minute, honestly. The naughty fairies have got my brain, Jack. They've taken it hostage. Start to simmer. Test for doneness. Cool and store. Some examples of the fruits that are high in natural pectin and acid are apples. Apples are brilliant. Oranges, melons, cherries, currants, grapes and raspberries. While the opposites are peaches, strawberries, peach, pineapple, grapefruit, pears and blueberries. They're far more difficult to make jams out of, basically. But you could add water and sugar and then just leave them to do their funky stuff and end up with some scrumptious alcoholic drinks.
Worth a try.
It is, isn't it? Using fruits that are in season means that there's an abundance and you can get it at the best flavour and best price unless you've grown your own. My favourite is blackberry and apple jam, as these ingredients are in my garden and I like the taste. With a slight bit of rescuing. What did you call it?
Rescuing.
Yeah, I was rescuing. Yeah, I've been rescuing these apples. It's really good. So, ripe fruits. The best flavours in fruits come when it's ripe or in the process of ripening. As the fruits ripen, the starch is converted into sugar, making the fruits taste sweeter, softer, and healthier for you. These fruits also may have the best levels of pectin and acid in. The fruits you use for jam making should be firm and flavourful. Using best quality fruit means you are one step closer to the most perfect tasting jam. Be sure to pick ingredients that are fragrant and juicy. Your favourite fruit jam making can take a long time, but the results are satisfying and rewarding, especially when it's something that you or your family loves and that you've grown yourself. There's something very satisfying about making food, you know, that you've grown yourself. And also, it's inculcating good habits with the younger generation. If they're seeing us planting fruits, planting vegetables, and then collecting them and, you know, preserving whatever we have, you know, an abundance of, I think it's a really good way of teaching children, because it's the practicality of it, isn't it, really?
I mean, so many kids now, they have no clue where their food comes from.
I know.
They think it comes from the supermarket. They have no idea that it grows on farms, and that milk comes from cows, and eggs come
So
from.
sad, isn't it?
I think it's very, very sad.
I do as well. So yeah, I tell all the children that are in the close, they all come into my garden and see what I'm up to. And I think just allowing them to take part in any kind of baking or making things with good quality food is good for them as well. So that they're not eating bloody pot noodles and all the rest of the stuff that's horrible. So,
I mean, I'm absolutely useless in the kitchen. I accept the fact that I'm absolutely useless in the kitchen. I like to grow the food.
yeah.
And I had a girlfriend a long time ago now, and her ideal, her dream, was to have a big farmhouse type kitchen with a pot on the go all the time.
Yeah.
And a him in the garden bringing fresh food in. And my ideal was to be growing all this wonderful fresh food and to have a her in the kitchen with the pot. It worked absolutely wonderfully for a while.
That's brilliant, Jack. No, that's brilliant. And also, I would think that she would have been really appreciative of what you'd grown as well.
Oh, she was, yeah.
Yeah, massively. I'm always like my neighbours, my family, and my youngest sister brings me their produce all the time, and it's always delightful, isn't it, that you've got this scrummy stuff that you can make lovely meals out of.
And I was really, really appreciative of what she did with it once she got into the kitchen.
Exactly. Makes you want to grow more stuff then, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Summer berries naturally contain pectin, so they're great for jam making. The fruit and sugar need plenty of time to cook and thicken. So cut the fruit into even pieces. Depending on the size of your strawberries or blackberries, you'll either need to quarter or halve them before you get started. Mash the fruit and sugar together. I know lots of people use a blender, or they use a bullet or something like that. I'm an old-fashioned girl, so I like to use a potato masher. That seems to be more in keeping with what, you know, what I observed my mum and my grandma doing. But you could use your bullet or your blender to actually do that. But the potato masher works for me, so that's all good. Mix your jam and sugar together. This releases moisture from the berries and gets them cooking faster. Boil the fruit for 20 minutes. Bring the fruit to the boil over a medium heat, stirring occasionally. The mixture will start with big, juicy bubbles and slowly progress to smaller, tighter bubbles as the jam gets closer to doneness. I don't know what the right word is, Jack, but I'm using doneness.
Doneness will do. Doneness is a good old-fashioned word.
So, yes, as the jam gets closer to doneness.
Doneness, I like that. Yeah.
Know when the jam is done, simply dribble some hot jam from the pot onto a frozen spoon. Wait a few seconds for it to cool. Then run your finger through the jam. If it makes a clear path through the jam and doesn't fill in, then you have a good set. And if not, boil it for a bit longer, basically. And I don't know if any of you lovely people, but I'm the eldest of 5 children, and we used to take it in terms to be able to lick the whisk or lick the spoon when my mum had been baking. Licking the spoon was the perfect.
I used to do that with my grandma was cooking. Yeah.
And we'd be like going, no, it's my turn, it's my turn, it's my turn. Just for that little bit of cake mixture or jam mixture or whatever. So again, I just think it's a really playful thing to do as well, isn't it? So know when the jam is done, simply dribbling some hot jam from the pot onto your frozen spoon, waiting a few seconds for it to cool, then run your finger through the jam. If it makes a clear path through the jam and doesn't fill in, then you have a good set. Jar and store the jam. When the jam is set to your liking, remove the jam from the heater and transfer it to the clean jars. Cover and cool completely before moving the jam to the fridge or for long-term storage. So I'm going to do this again for anybody who didn't see me do it earlier. This is one I made earlier. So this is my crabapple and ginger jam. The crab apples I got from the allotment, Jack. There's a massive crabapple tree there. So seemed a shame not to be using what nature's giving us, doesn't it?
Absolutely, yeah. I used to get lots of crab apples when I was on the canal, when I was on my boat.
Did you? I like the taste. I really like the taste. And then I thought I'd pep it up with a bit of root ginger in it because that's what I thought would be really tasty and good in the winter because it really helps with colds as well, doesn't it? So stews. Oh, I love stews and casseroles this time of year. Stews are the ultimate cold weather comfort food, aren't they just? Whether you prefer something classic like a hearty beef stew in red wine sauce or something lighter like chicken stew, these recipes will warm you up. So, although I haven't mentioned dumplings, one of the things that my grandma and my mum used to make was dumplings to go on top of your casserole or on top of your stew. What about you, Jack? Do you like dumplings?
I haven't had dumplings for, I don't know, since I was a kid.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying how long ago that was.
So
at least 20 years. You're going to let me get away with that.
I am indeed. What about you, Barnabas? Do you like dumplings?
We used to have them while I was growing up, and I seem to remember there being stews in the winter time when the kids were growing up here, and dumplings going in. I seem to remember going out somewhere recently, probably with one of my, before I retired, with one of my lads, and they had them on the menu, just part of. So yeah, it's suet, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's right stodgy, and it fills you up. It's lovely.
Yeah.
It's comfort food, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely. My grandpa used to say that dumplings would coat your ribs. I'm not sure that that was accurate, but I get the gist of it. You go, oh, this will be good for coating your ribs. And it's only as an adult, really, that I thought, actually, it doesn't go anywhere near your bloody ribs, does it, really? But nice idea that it's going to keep you nice and hot. So, yeah, dumplings. So, and stew. My favourite stews are Lancashire hot pot. Sorry, Andrew. My grandparents were from Ince, so just outside of Wigan. So yeah, they called it Lancashire hot pot, but I've seen it called Yorkshire hot pot and all sorts of lamb hot pot and all sorts of other words as well. Lamb stew with root vegetables, beef stew in red wine sauce, chickpea stew with spinach and chorizo, roast
Oh,
lamb.
yeah.
Oh, I love it. I know.
That's
I was
proper
typing this up
Spanish
thinking,
food
what
now.
my favourites? I was like, oh my God, it's making me hungry. I want it now. I want it now. Roast lamb stew with garlic and rosemary, and all the flavours of roast lamb baked into a hearty stew. Serve over buttered quinoa for the ultimate winter warmer. So what I did last night, the lovely Victor Wrong for one of my birthday presents, bought me a £25 meat voucher from Lee Adams Game Butcher. So I made myself a venison casserole last night, Jack.
Oh, beautiful.
Oh my goodness, it was so good. I'm having the second lot tonight, what the little that I did leave over last night. But venison, again, just lovely slow cooked. And I put carrots, celery, red onions in there, and it was scrummy. Oh, and a bottle of organic red wine as well.
I used to eat a lot of venison when I lived near the New Forest years ago.
Did you?
Mm.
Slush, isn't it? It's really lovely. And also, it's not been farmed, it's not been given antibiotics, it's not had any of that. So, this is a big shout out to Lee Adams of Penkridge, who's a game butcher. He makes his own sausages, really unusual ones, Jack, like wild boar and parsley sausages, makes his own pies, and he knows where all the deers have come from and all the other types of meat he sells as well. He knows exactly what herd they've come from. So although the meat isn't organic, it's really good quality, really good quality.
I had some of his sausages years ago when I was on my boat.
Did you?
Yeah,
Did
yeah.
you love them? Oh my God, he's such a great butcher, isn't he? So for anybody who doesn't know Penkridge well, Lee Adams, the game butcher, is opposite the Littleton in Penkridge. And again, I thoroughly recommend him. He just does the most lovely things.
For those who don't know what we're talking about, it's a lovely little town, oh, I don't know, part way between Stafford and Birmingham, or
Yeah.
to Stafford and Wolverhampton.
Yeah, Jack. Yeah. I don't know if it's maybe about 15 miles away, maybe. I don't know.
Yeah.
Something like that, isn't it? So, yeah, so I made myself this lovely venison casserole that was just lovely, which I'm having the other bit. I have such a tiny freezer. Something that I haven't mentioned about preserving is you could batch cook all of this if you've got a big enough freezer, and then put them in plastic containers and put them in, and then you've just got to warm them through afterwards. Because my first little beautiful flat, I was on the ground floor, and the only place you could put the freezer was underneath the stairs for the lady who lived upstairs. I've got a very, very tiny little freezer, so I can't batch cook as such. But yeah, I don't mind having venison casserole 2 nights on the trot. That sounds awesome.
Yummy.
But you could freeze them, couldn't you? And then the other thing that I've done for years now is I make my own minestrone soup. And it was a Spanish chef many moons ago when I used to work in his kitchen, and he would throw every kind of veg that you can think of, leftovers, carrot tops, just celery, whatever veg was left over, he'd put it in the minestrone. Because I'm a gluten-free girl, I've got gluten-free pasta to put in, so it's authentically minestrone. But, you know, again, it's a really good way of using all your leftovers and making something that's, I don't know, that's really tasty and scrummy. So put loads of herbs in as well. Oregano's really good. Parsley's good. What else? Thyme is a really good one to put in it as well. So this version of minestrone is basically a hearty lamb stew. It should use the best of what is around and can be made at any time of the year. It's a great way to maximise roasted leftovers, plus uses up these quarter bags of pasta from the pantry. When it's warmer, keep it fresher and serve with less broth. In the cooler months, add some bacon, serve it with bread and use it to warm the cockles of your heart. It's another Lancashirian phrase. What do you think of that, Jack?
I think that's wonderful. I want some.
Oh, no, and me.
I want some now.
And I want it now.
I want it now. Where's that song go?
I want it all. I want it now. I want it all, and I want it now, or something like that. Sorry,
that's the one.
Queen's probably going, no, don't let her sing that. I love winter casseroles. They really help me get through the season. Sometimes nothing beats a hearty casserole. If you're feeling a bit down, they're comforting, filling and budget friendly, and often involve minimal prep or washing up afterwards. I'm very fond of having very little washing up to do, basically. Somebody asked me the other day, they said, have you got a dishwasher? I said, yeah. You're looking at her. This is the dishwasher. So my favourite casserole recipes include cheap and hearty sausage casseroles, classic beef, vegetarian casserole ideas, fragrant lamb stew. These easy budget friendly casserole recipes are ideal for feeding a crowd or for freezing for later. Any dish that still remains popular nearly 200 years after its creation is going to be a damn good meal. My grandparents were from Wigan, the north of England, so this traditional Lancashire hot pot is one of my staple dinners, and this recipe has been tried and tested hundreds of times. So the history of traditional Lancashire hot pot. Lancashire hot pot is thought to have originated during the cotton industry in the 19th century. It's a simple meal that would have been left to cook slowly all day, ready for the hungry cotton workers at the end of their shift. It was probably more likely to have contained mutton in those days and would invariably have been left to cook with the lamb bone still in the dish. There are a few variations out there, some made without stock, some made with carrots, potatoes. However, nearly every recipe does agree that this is a dish made with lamb, butter, onions and layers of potatoes.
Yummy.
Is that one of yours, Jack?
Lamb
hot pot?
No. I mean, if somebody else is cooking it, then yes. But
yes. I rarely have it in restaurants because it's white potato, which anaesthetises me. But when I make it for myself, I use sliced sweet potatoes, which doesn't look quite the same, but it's good enough for me. My version has carrots in. I love the way they absorb all the flavour. Plus, it means I only need to serve one other side of veg with it. It also has a meaty gravy that's been thickened slightly due to the addition of flour in the early stages. I don't use flour, I use buckwheat flour instead. Lancashire hot pot initial process steps. Start by frying off some diced lamb in a hot pan. Remove the lamb and then soften the onions in the same pan and add the lamb back in. Stir in your flour, then pour in your stock. Add a couple of bay leaves, a good sprinkling of salt and pepper, and if you've got it, a good splash of Worcester sauce. I don't know why my Lancashirian grandparents put Worcester sauce in, but they did. But then they put Worcester sauce on their Welsh rarebits as well, so I'm sure that they thought that gave it a bit of additional spice, basically.
It certainly gives it a bit of spice, doesn't it? A bit of oomph.
Oh, yeah, really does, doesn't it? Cover and place in the oven for 30 minutes. Transfer the pan contents to a casserole dish. Stir in your chopped carrots, then top with thinly sliced potato. Brush on a little melted butter. Sprinkle on some dried thyme. Cover and place in the oven for an hour. Then you can be doing something else completely different for that hour. Remove the lid, knock up the heat and cook for a further 30 minutes until those potatoes are lovely and golden. The potatoes are sliced thinly and cover the whole dish, overlapping each other, which results in the potatoes on top being lovely and crisp, while the parts of the potatoes underneath are soft and tender. And I really like that that difference, basically. I can see Barnabas really smiling. Is that something you enjoy?
Yeah, I mean, I must be somebody who likes food too much, but yeah, I definitely go along with that. That's something, like this time of year. That's really when we need to have these soul foods, maybe.
Yeah, absolutely. They're very comforting foods, aren't they? And then this is not about food. This is just to keep yourself warm in winter, inexpensively. Wear lots of layers in and out of bed. So I've got a t-shirt underneath my dress, and then I've got a scarf, and I've got this lovely gilet that's pretend sheepskin. Use a door snake draft excluder.
What are
There
you
used to be
talking
one
about, young lady?
by the front door. There used to be like a draft excluder.
Yeah,
That's what we used to call it. But I know exactly what you mean.
It's a really like big snake, isn't it, that stops that cold wind from coming in. Yeah, you need a door snake draft excluder for your front and back door. Have a hot water bottle in your bed for half an hour before retiring. Did you wonder what I was going to say, Jack? You need a hot man in your bed every night for half an hour before you get in. Or a hot girl in your case.
A hot woman in my bed, wouldn't that be nice?
It'd be awesome, wouldn't it? I was winding up one of my patients probably about 6 months ago, and he was like, "What are you going to do this evening, Annie?" I said, "Oh, I'm going to make myself something lovely to eat. I'm going to have a mermaid bath, and then I'm going to get in bed with Fred because he's really hot and furry." And he went, "Oh my God, have you got a new bloke?" And I said, "No, it's my 3-foot-long hot water bottle." But he is very hairy and he is very hot, and he does get in bed with me most nights, I would say.
Well, I'm very happy for you and Fred, Annie.
So yes, put your hot water bottle in. And then the other thing that one of my lovely patients has done for me is to put silver foil behind the radiators to increase the heat. And
Yeah, we always used to do that. Yeah, well, when I was a kid, my parents used to do that.
Yeah, it's a really good idea. This isn't actually just silver foil. It's a bit kind of padded stuff that was made for the job. But yeah, it has made a really big difference to, reflecting the heat back into the room, basically. And then hugs. We need lots of hugs, especially in the winter. So that will
Absolutely.
warm you up too. So have lots of hugs.
Emily wants a free hugging laugh from me. I'm available.
Yeah, free hugs in Stafford.
Uh,
So that's it. Lovely, Jack.
well, thank you very much for sharing all that with us, Annie. Have you
Oh,
got anything you want to contribute, Barnabas?
I don't really. This is other things that you've spoken about. I've known a little bit about. I mean, I'm not really the kitchen person like yourself, Jack. I'm not really somebody. Beans on toast with a
Oh, I
fried
can
egg
do
on the
that.
top,
Yeah, I can do that.
and
Yeah,
maybe grated cheese. You know, that's about as exotic as I get. So all this talk of pickling, this pickling of eggs, pickling of
yeah,
onions, beetroot. There's so much
yeah.
stuff that I've eaten, but I wouldn't have known what to do until tonight. So thank you
Well,
very much.
I'm very pleased to hear that, my lovely. Very
Well,
pleased to hear that.
well, thank you very much, everybody, for coming, and thank you, Annie, for doing all that preparation today. That's
Oh,
really,
my
really
pleasure,
appreciated.
lovely. My pleasure, lovely. And I made you laugh as well, and you didn't cough too much when I made you laugh. So bonus, bonus.
I must be getting better.
You must be getting better, darling. The laughter medicine is making you better, I'm sure.
Right, if you're watching this on YouTube, please do like, share, and subscribe because it helps us get our message of love and cooperation out to more people.
Yay.
See you all again next week.
See you next week. Namaste.
Namaste.